Welcome to this evening's Do Debates. The debate tonight is part of a series conducted across Asia on creativity for business growth. And for this session, the panel of experts will focus on the power of purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the panel. We'll head straight into the questions then.
Could the panel please tell us their understanding of the meaning of the idea behind purpose and why they think a business should have one or not?
You know, you can think about purpose from kind of just existentially, right? What is purpose? What is the meaning of life? And so I think that when you think about it from that perspective, it's really, what is the reason why you live? Why do you get up in the morning every day? And so then if you apply that into the business context now, why is your particular business and your set of products and services or whatever value you're offering, what is the reason for that? And I think it's critical to actually differentiate what it is that you're doing, because lots of people can sell widgets. But I think what will differentiate what you're doing would be what is your purpose and what is the reason why you get up every day to do those things.
I think it's quite difficult to have this conversation, especially in this part of the world, though, I mean, I appreciate that those of us who live in places like Singapore and Hong Kong kind of live in Disneyland and think this is the real world. So please just be aware, this is not the real world. And to aware that there is a much bigger issue at stake in the world today, which is actually the crisis of capitalism. And the foundation of capitalism is essentially, in my view, the intellectual dishonesty that has pervaded business, right? And I won't go into the details, but just leave it at that. So we have the misuse of very important words like purpose, important words like values, etc. So there's an intellectual dishonesty that has pervaded business. I mean, I got a lot of business forums and political forums, and I'm aghast at the intellectual dishonesty. So if you look at purpose, and I'll then kind of shut up just to throw this out, you could, as you say, have the literal translation of, you know, you have an intention to do something, and hopefully that has some implications that you understand. At a higher level, presumably, purpose suggests that you have a higher meaning of doing some things, which you know, sort of touches on this issue of intellectual honesty. It touches on the issue of what your value systems are, which will do. But I don't believe companies can have values, by the way, just to put a marker on the table. Ethics and morality and philosophy. Now, I think it's part of this sort of dumbing down that's taking place, and dare I say, with all due respect to my hosts, promoted by the PR firms, etc., that companies have this higher purpose. Now, if you sell fast foods, you can't have a higher purpose. I'm sorry. You sell junk food, period.
Every company and every organization should have a purpose. And I think it's more interesting to look at how you rhetorically define that purpose. You can say hamburgers is just junk food, or you can say we help people get a meal if they don't have time to cook. I'm sure you rhetorically can twist, or not twist, define everything any way you want. So I started looking for a lot of different, like a grand, really grand purpose, and I found one for NASA. And if it's okay, can I just read the purpose of NASA? Now, it used to say, to understand and protect the home planet, to explore the universe and search for life, to inspire the next generation of explorers. Now that's a purpose. But it's not the purpose of NASA anymore. They changed it. George Bush changed it. And now it reads like this. To pioneer the future in space exploration, scientific discovery, and aeronautics research. Huh? And apparently, they took away to understand and protect the home planet.
It was never the mission of NASA to protect the planet.
Yes, it was.
It
was in their
the
mission.
The purpose of NASA was to maintain American military dominance. Please be clear. This is, again, where we get distorted.
So do you think George
Whether
Bush
it's higher or lower, we must be clear.
was George Bush perhaps more accurate in his description of purpose of
He wanted to go to Mars.
Olivier,
where he belongs.
Well, Chandran, remind me not to be on your bad side.
Maybe allow me to pass it on to you as well. So does a business need to, can it have a higher purpose, or when you strip it down, should we just be honest that it's all about profit making?
I really traveled to try to find an organization with the purpose I believed in, and it was not a spin. When I looked at it, trying to really find one. Apple, of course, comes to mind, but it's not a higher purpose. It's to be better than the next guy at what they do. I'm not asking the what question. I'm not asking the how question. I'm asking the why question. The purpose is about the why question. So frankly, at the end of the day, I asked myself, well, maybe the purpose is, in these very uncertain economic times, give me a reason why we should bail you out if you fail. And if you give me a good reason to bail you out, then I think you've got a good purpose. Frankly, the banks, in my eyes, that was a technical reason why we bailed them out.
A reason beyond profitability, obviously.
Exactly. But there was not a why, really a good why reason why we should bail them out. So any firm that does not have a good why reason why we shouldn't bail them out if they fail doesn't have a purpose. And frankly, right now, I can't really find one completely commercial entity that has a higher purpose. There are hybrid organizations, and I would put the universities in them, that have a higher purpose and probably have one of the highest impact you can look at in a societal way.
Does the panel agree that purpose marketing is probably a fad designed to make consumers feel good about paying a premium for commodity items? Thank you.
I do agree it's a fad, but I would say it's a poor cousin of a higher purpose. It's like a department that wants to do good. They don't have the board support probably to do that. So they try to align the commercial needs of the organization with something that they believe in. Some do it deceptively just to make money. Others, they really truly believe in it. At the end of the day, I'm almost thinking, is that academic? Do I care? As long as good is done and it's not manipulative, let's go for it.
Does the purpose come in the first place, or is that something that follows beyond business practices?
Like I said, I think companies can have a purpose, and I think you start with it. If someone who starts a company has a purpose with why he starts this company or she, I say, we are starting a company because we are going to solve this problem, right? And then if the marketing is supporting that, saying in the marketing you say we're doing this because we want to solve this problem, I think that's not a fad. That's what you should do.
I guess the question that I ask is the chicken or the egg, right? So is it that purpose marketing fad is happening because all of a sudden the companies decided, oh, we need to start pumping premium prices, so we need to do this type of marketing? Or is it that consumers are now demanding something more than just the functional value of a product and saying, I have 4 cups, 3 cups here, and if I'm going to choose to buy this cup or this cup, and I know that this company is actually using sustainable material, and I'm curious to know the story and the reason behind that, is that something that could be resulting in the fact that now they need to figure out what their purpose is? For me, this question is not about distortion of words and distortion of marketing, but it's really, is there something that's happening in this generation of people who are saying, I actually want something that's more purposeful. I want something that's a bit more meaningful.
Do you think the nature of capitalism contradicts a higher purpose?
We all have a dual personality disorder because we all seem to agree that when we step as an employee, we want to work for a company that inspires us with a higher purpose. But the second we become a consumer, then we forget that. So do we walk through capitalism with a dual personality disorder? Probably. I really hope that we don't have 2 hats between consumerism and between being an employee. If we can be a little bit more like an employee in everyday life, that's something that would help.
Do you think that we're at least becoming slightly better consumers because of purpose?
Making the world a good place isn't the mantra of any single company, though many have used PR firms to give them slogans about they care. That is not their mission. That is their mission. Their mission is to make profit. That's all respectable, okay? And then the only institution that can therefore mediate in this contradiction is the state.
As long as the company is trying to make, that's my point, as long as the company is trying to make that part of the world that they are responsible for, we can't blame a company to be responsible for everything that's wrong. You can only, as a company, be responsible of that little part of that corner of the world that you are responsible for.
Is it right to say that in India and in China and in Vietnam and in Indonesia, that some of the Asians in those emerging markets aren't entitled to have what we have today? It's not their entitlement. And secondly, linked to that, actually, does the Asian consumer, beyond price, getting it cheap, and it makes me look good, do they care more or less about purpose of the company that they buy for, do you think, than in Europe or in the States?
This question of entitlement is what I question. What are we really entitled to as human beings, right? And is that entitlement the opportunity to pursue something that's important, that's of higher purpose, that gives us joy? Or is that entitlement that I must have 2 TVs, a pair of Nikes, 3 cars, an iPhone, and is that an entitlement?
The population of Asia is about 3.5 billion. The consuming classes in Asia are only about 500 million. If you believe the guys at McKinsey who are prone to exaggeration, it's about 700 million, okay? 700 million Asians consuming has already rocked the world. Imagine adding another billion to it. It's different. So the core issue is, what are the basic rights of human beings? They're not about shiny things, etc. It's not about iPads, it's about the most basics to the right to live, which are the things I mentioned.
We are moving quite a long way down the path of sustainability rather than purpose. I want to try and rein that back in a bit. And I'd like to ask Olivier the original question, which is really, do you think Asians care about purpose or more than the quality and price of a product?
Today, I don't think they do. I have high hopes that they have the DNA because of their upbringing and because of the struggles they had to go through, that when they reach a certain level of wealth, they get it.
The biggest ideological fight of the 21st century is about the erosion of older belief systems. Right? This is the fight. This is the identity crisis. So you've got all these Asians all looking around, and at a core, they have some value system that's born out of whatever cultures but out there, they all want to be MTV. Because MTV is what tells you this is superior.
In that case, maybe businesses don't need to have a purpose at all, and really it's the government's role to create boundaries for consumerism?
I don't think it's actually an either-or question. So I don't think it's either the government should have boundaries or businesses should have purpose. I mean, we're sitting around here having this conversation because I think, don't we all believe that we might need both, right? I think there is a role for different people to play. The government and the state have a role to play. The businesses absolutely have a role to play. And as consumers and as humans, we have a role to play. What I'm more interested in saying is, what is our role and what should our role be today? And what can I do? What choices can I make today? What choices can I make as I run my business, as you run your businesses? If you're in government, as you're managing your division and your agency, what decisions can you make on a day-to-day basis that are actually in integrity with what you believe?
For me, to go back to the central debate about the purpose in the company, it's actually probably its number one purpose, besides the PR element, is to attract the right employees. Right? So it's, at the end of the day, it's all about the people. It's all about the people. So the purpose is actually the self-selection at the entrance. And that should be what guides you to hire, to fire, to promote. It stands above every fad. CEOs come and go. Founders are the ones who imprint their DNAs. And they should be the ones who imprint their DNA and their higher purpose into it.
Do profit and purpose have to be uneasy bedfellows, or do the two actually go hand in hand?
If I could start, I would say the profit and purpose is not the uneasy bedfellow. It's purpose and loss is the uneasy bedfellow. Because if you start a company, you say the purpose is I want to do this is why we do this. And if you don't make a profit, you make a loss doing what you want to do, you're not going to be able to continue to do it, right? So the company will go bankrupt. If you make a profit doing what you are planning to do, you have then good. You have some money left over after all the cost, the revenue minus the cost, you have some money left over, and then you can choose to invest that back into the company to solve even more of the problems because of the purpose that you have for your company, right? So it's not an easy bedfellows. It's the opposite. If you lose money, that's when you have a problem. If you believe in the purpose why you started this company.
First of all, if you're in business, profitability is not a mission, which it was mentioned. It's not a higher purpose. It is actually, I think, a right to play. If you're in business and you are not profitable, you're actually not in business. And some of the greatest, I think, some of the most inspiring entrepreneurs and business people, founders that I talk to have a higher purpose.
And people like Ogilvy have huge power to bring truth and substance rather than spin.
On that point of hope, I think that's a great way to end this evening.